pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order.
Approval of the agenda?
Second.
Any additions?
No.
Changes? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We have some administrative matters. We have a few minutes to take care of those. The minutes were sent out in advance.
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved by Corey, second by Bob to approve the minutes as sent out. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Claims were sent out in advance.
Move approval of claims, issue checks.
Second.
Moved by Bob, second by Corey to approve claims and authorize auditor to issue checks. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, carries unanimously. We do have numerous employee changes. I believe they're all changes and no new hires. Nicholas Josh, roadside management. Mandy Jansen, treasurer. Amy Bali, CBS. Iwami, did I get it?
Ayami.
Ayami Christie, CBS, and Jacob Whedon, CBS. Anybody want to discuss any of those, or?
It's good to me. So move approval of the personal additions.
Second.
Moved by Bob, second by Corey to approve the lot of the personnel changes. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously. Board committee updates, Bob?
Had a couple, central detention. I'm now a non-voting member. So they started talking about the 2080 agreement, just let you guys know. One part of it right now they're talking about is not being able to exit out as long as there's debt. So, that concerns me. So it's, once we get the 2080 agreement, it may not be something that we may want.
If there's debt by the agency totally, red flag.
Yeah, because we could be stuck there
Right.
forever.
Right.
So that was the concern thing for that one. Economic development, a lot of things going on outside of Bremer County. Other counties doing some small projects for some small mom and pop businesses. Waterloo, man, I drove by the paper plant. That is huge out west of the airport. So, Waverly wise, they're just, they gave an update on the road, the pool project. They have some STEM events and they're looking at Irving to be re-cited as R3. So I did bring up the conversation about, our poor farm and whether we should put it on a locator site. And, Connie said, she could help us with that. So I know we can't discuss it now, but should we invite her over and have a discussion with that?
What portion of are you thinking of?
I don't know.
Because, that's a private entity out there where we don't own.
Yeah, it'd be the farmland around it.
Okay, the farmland, that's what my question was.
Yep. But in order to make it, when I talk to one person, you'd almost need to put in don't put in, price negotiable, put in maybe a starting line. But that's something we'd have to think about.
I'm not sure what are you thinking in terms of wanting to put it up for sale?
If we would negotiate at a certain level. So,
And
that's,
why would we want to sell it?
well, in course of business would come in, we'd have to, we'd have to look at their product and say, yeah, that we'd be willing to sell it because it might add jobs or it might, add value to Bremer County. So that's what I'd like to have. Maybe Connie come in and maybe talk about that.
From my years here, that's certainly something that you would want to engage the public in before making a decision like that.
Yeah.
I think that doing anything prematurely would be very disadvantageous.
Yeah,
True.
someone like a locator site would be is, we could look at the projects and say if they're good, willing to negotiate, because they still have to go through zoning.
So there'd be ample time for the public to examine and provide feedback.
It's a question, would we entertain that as an option to be developed? That's the question.
And, well, there's a secondary question that comes along with that, is that if you're gonna discuss something like that, does Bremer County need to change their aggressive stance and maybe purchase ground that's better for development and certainly less productive than that land? That is some of the best land in Bremer County. And, there's 4 miles south of there at Dead Man's Corner, there's a fair amount of ground that may or may not be available for purchase and development, but there's a lot of ground there.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, a lot better connectivity with 2 major highways going both directions. So there's a huge discussion to be had, I think.
So how do you, well, I want you guys to think about how, how we start that conversation. Because right now, it seems like, we're a little bit on the sidelines.
A little. We're, I'm not sure we're in the stadium, but, we're in the process of doing our comp plan. Would we be wise to hear what maybe at least the initial thought process is from that group before we? I'm not, honestly, I'm not convinced that there's a lot of appetite for a lot of growth like that in Bremer County. I wish there was, but I don't know that there is, Bob. We've explored these before, and
Yeah, it has to be the right company. It has, to me, it has to be something that provide good paying jobs. Not necessarily, like a 5-person, but a 30 small business, 30 to 50 people. Okay. That was discussed, and she's open to, help us if it comes to that.
I could see if we were to get further into our comp plan to see what the initial recommendations are as planning and zoning board starts to go through it, then maybe we host a joint session with planning and zoning to discuss the what ifs that you're bringing here.
Yeah.
Like, is there an appetite to see that if there is interest in a development opportunity? There's still plenty of opportunity in that chain of events to discern if it's worth it for the county and for public input, but you'll never know until you put it out there.
Yeah,
well, you've heard me say, not you so much, Bob, Corey, you've heard me say several dozen times that this county needs growth somewhere, somehow, or we're gonna have to tax ourselves out of existence, because we can't keep paying more, because the cost of services are never gonna go down substantially, and therefore, if you don't have growth, what makes up the difference? We do, and that we can't continue to be on that path, so something's gotta change, so, I think we're on the same page, I think we should hear something right after the first year from
Okay.
the
We're,
town.
we're working through a task force. Will be our third meeting on the 5th of November, so then Intercog will be compiling the data from the 3 meetings to take to planning and zoning. So yeah, I would think in January, we're gonna have a big picture idea of what issues the planning and zoning will be working through. So I think at that point, we'd be a little better educated to start that conversation if we want to.
And I think that's a pretty respectful process to follow, so.
Yep, otherwise, Chamber they had a walk, that started at the courthouse, so they had like 30 people, history walk. We talked about the Bremer County Sheriff back in 1883.
Is that all good? We had, last Thursday evening, we had the comp plan task force in Tripola. Good attendance. I didn't get an exact number. Really good conversations. Talked about where we're lacking from like a governmental standpoint, where we're efficient, what we've done to become more efficient, cross-cooperative between governmental entities, what's worked, what hasn't. We really dig into housing and development in the next meeting on November 5th. I'll get into those issues, but really good discussions the other night. A full meeting and covered a lot of topics. Last evening I had.
And the majority of the board members were present. They got that all worked out.
We had much better attendance. We had a few people that had conflicts and couldn't make it, but better attendance in the first meeting. And I think a better cross-section of the county as a whole than the first meeting was.
And like you said, the general public also showed up, and
I was able to hear the conversations and take away from them. Last night was Northeast Iowa Community Action. A lot of the conversation centered around the federal shutdown, contingencies coming from that. The LIHEAP Energy Assistance Plan, Tricia had stated that our administrative costs that are covered to manage that plan, if nothing changes, we would be having to face some staffing changes to cover that plan by the 21st of November. And then community service block grant, all the different programs that stem from that funding source, we should be able to make it to the end of the year, end of the calendar year, covering our oversight administration on that. The biggest, most immediate issue, obviously, we've been hearing in the media, is the SNAP funding. The state hasn't received word. They've been looking into if they use contingency funds to keep funding, to fund SNAP in the interim, will they be reimbursed? They haven't got an answer yet on that. So the state is reluctant to step in and try to help, even though there is money there available if they know they were going to be reimbursed for it. Again, the biggest problem is funding the staffing for getting food where it needs to be to the food pantries. Money, obviously, for the SNAP program, but like the food pantries are going to have a major impact, if this does come to fruition. So we looked at some different ways to reach out to local organizations, churches, to step up and just across all the communities in the region to cover that gap if need be here in the coming week. So good discussion about that. A lot of willingness to help and do what's needed.
I did not have any.
One more quick thing on community action. I forgot. I just saw my note. They are moved into the old Head Start buildings. They moved in, started operating last Tuesday out of there, and all the updates completed. Rotary, our local Rotary, helped to pay for a lot of the updates on that. Wells Hall Landscape helped during the day of carrying. They did a lot of work out there on the grounds to get it ready. So thanks to them for their help.
And their old building will just be, I forget if they own it or they run it.
They were renting that.
Who owns that?
I looked it up once. Ken and I had a discussion. I don't remember who it is.
Okay. I was thinking they did purchase it, but
They were looking to purchase something else. And
Okay.
they'd come down and looked at a few buildings when they were renting that.
Anything else?
That was all I had.
Nothing. Good morning.
Morning. Is it my time?
You got that funny smile on your face. Do you want to ask why or?
No, I'm ready to spend some money.
Well, there you go.
First agenda topic. No, it's good news, I guess. All right.
It's your time, go ahead.
Okay. So at our last opioid task force meeting, I had done a survey to 16 different agencies just to gauge interest in a drug deactivation pouch. I have that information in your packet there, but it's a pouch that has activated carbon inside of it, and you can deactivate pills, patches, liquids, creams, and films in these pouches. We had initial interest where I wanted to do an initial order with a minimum spend of $2,076, but then after our opioid meeting, a couple other agencies expressed interest in passing out these pouches for drug deactivation. So now I'm looking to purchase a minimum of 400 medium pouches, which is you get 400 units per case. 400 large pouches, which is again 400 units per case, and then 20 easels and little cubes where you can display them. The health department, so my department, the medical examiner, Cedar Valley Hospice, Center Pharmacy at Waverly Health Center, Community Memorial Hospital, Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging, Pathways, Unity Point Rolf Clinic here in Waverly, and Unity Point Denver Clinic in Denver. And then Darius, through different contacts that he has, was going to check as well. So what I propose then for this project would be a initial order where we would spend a minimum of $4,152.
I don't see anything for the Tripola facility, is that
They didn't respond.
really?
Yeah.
And this is all opioid dollars that are being spent, it's not local tax dollars.
No, this is just opioid funding. I would start billing probably both my time and Santana's time to this project. We're also going to look into some advertising just to get out the word of where there's DEA take back boxes. So like there's one of those at the sheriff's office, and then several of our pharmacies in the county also have those. So it's just increasing awareness of where you can take your drugs, so they're not sitting in your house. And then with this deactivation system, you just pour some water in it, pour your pills in it, or if you have a liquid, and then seal it and put it in your trash.
So it just goes in the regular trash.
Yep.
So this is your initial request, and you think it'll last a year or 6 months, or
Yeah, I
you
don't
know?
I don't know yet. So that's why the initial order that I had presented to our opioid task force was $2,076 a minimum spend, but then with the interest that people have expressed, I've just doubled it to $4,152 as the initial minimum spend. And then we'll just gauge it from there.
And I think the shelf life was quite long.
There was no expiration date on these, so.
Yeah, from the task force, I mean, we were all supportive of this, and I think this is another way, especially like medical examiners going out, right at the time of a death. Hey, if you have any additional drugs, if you want to get rid of them right away, so they don't have to travel in town with them. They can just dispose of them right at their own house. So.
We would distribute all these to the individual agencies right away. We wouldn't be inventorying this ourselves.
No, I'm gonna create a survey, something when we take out the initial that either email us or let us know via this link how many more you need, and then we'll bring it out when we need to. I just don't know how popular it's gonna be, how well people are gonna respond to it, so.
I would be a little skeptical about wanting to send it all out in bulk to. all of them,
Yeah,
because
so
that's-
initial partners put their minimum requests that they want, so we'll just go from there.
That would be, make sense. My fear would be otherwise that, you know, with changing faces at a facility, somebody might see this, oh, what's this? This is nothing anymore, just dump it.
Gets thrown.
And
Yeah. So.
I like that idea.
We had budgeted this fiscal year 100,000, but with the grants from Pathways and CMH, I mean, we've only spent, or estimated to spend under 35,000 this year, so there's a lot of room in the budget this fiscal year for spending yet.
And then you said you might start allocating time, advertising and this and et cetera, so that will be another request, or how do you do that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll probably be quarterly that I start submitting. I'll just do another request for that. So we're tracking it. But since this is directly related to this project and it's part of the opioid MOU, I want my time and staff's time being reimbursed for that.
Good. Yeah, I think you doing some publicity would be much wiser spend than hiring a PR group that presented, so.
I'd move to approve the purchase of the deterrent drug disposal system for, out of the opioid fund.
Second.
I'm gonna ask a question regarding process going forward with the large amount of money there. I know that Bremer County is the entity, but should we be for things like this, decision-making like this, or should that be the Board of Health that should actually,
No,
has
it's
to be here?
Board of Supervisor money,
Okay.
not Board of Health.
Okay.
Because this isn't coming out of my department budget.
Right.
It's
coming
a
out of
separate
the funds.
fund.
Any other discussion? I was just getting to the point where we seem to have an extra step in the process, and I wasn't sure if it's necessary because, you know, the VA board can make decisions and conservation board, and so, but I understand, so. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Thank you, Laney. You have a department update.
Yeah, just some financials. The first, I just have an update on the Bremer County opioid allocation balance. This was what I presented at my last opioid task force meeting on a couple weeks ago, October 9th approximately. The fund balance right now, this being a few weeks ago, is over 402,000. We have started expensing Pathways with their opioid grants, put in their first two claims for September and October, and then just wire transfer fees has been the only other expense, so slowly spending there. For my department, I have expenditures, revenue, and then just some grant financial updates. So July through September expenditures, we have spent $41,755.94, which is 18.35% of the budget used, primarily salary and benefits. The next is revenues. We've generated a total of $33,358.97 from July through September, primarily from emergency response contracts and our public health emergency preparedness contract, and then our local public health services contract have been the largest revenues there. Questions on any of the revenue or expenditures?
And your foot clinics and other, that your assistant is doing, is that in ballpark what you expect?
So no, she was on maternity leave, so
Okay.
she just started foot clinics again here in September, so it'll be a little bit lower this year just from her time off.
Okay.
A grant expenditure update, that is a third page. Our Service Area 6 Public Health Emergency Preparedness Contract. We have expended through September $2,611 there with a balance of $15,334 remaining. Our local public health services contract, we've expended $16,860 there with a balance of just over $40,000 remaining. We have a 6-year emergency response contract, and right now our 6th amendment to that is for influenza A and H5N1, primarily increasing immunization in farmer populations. We have expended $2,735 there and have a balance of just over $3,000 remaining. We also had a 7th amendment to that 6-year contract for tuberculosis control, and we were done with that now, so we expended $2,600 there, so there's no more remaining in that amendment. And then our immunization services contract, this is primarily where we bill all of our time for like immunization audits at the schools. We've expended $3,428 there and have a balance of $6,721 remaining there. Questions with that at all? And then the final is just a fund balance. So for FY26 through the end of September, an approximate fund balance of $368,366 in our fund.
And just help me out, this fund is from your grants and all this, or this is general fund, or is it a mixture, or?
A general fund mixture, and then a break off from when we were back from, when did CBS and home health break apart? From what we had made from Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance.
Okay. So a mixture of.
So a mixture of all federal, state, local funds. And private insurance.
Okay. And for this next quarter, what's your top 3 things to do?
HIPAA, that's the
Just HIPAA?
biggest thing. And then what I'm working on is just trying to get public health emergency preparedness plans updated. That was a large ongoing project that our region keeps working on. And then just internally updating policies and procedures. We just finished a radon project that went very well. We had purchased radon kits through my budget since I had an expense I wasn't going to expend. We started distributing those a couple weeks ago, and there's 12 remaining. Otherwise, they would be gone, but we publicly stated we were going to be at Sumner and Janesville yet, so we reserved 6 for each of those locations. Santana is finishing up with school immunization audits for licensed childcare. She finished all the K through 12 here a couple weeks ago. She's finishing up with flu vaccines. So it's been a busy fall.
And you talked about emergency management, and at our retreat, you had a list of open slots, all those getting filled for your emergency preparedness.
Yep, I think those are primarily filled for the most part. And then we will be hosting a public information officer, since that's the one we're really lacking on for our incident command, here in January, is that what we said? So that'll be at Waverly Civic Center, so if you're interested in public information officer training, 2 days.
Who was that formerly?
What?
Who used to be?
Just our department staff. Angie was on there, and then Kip was on there too.
For the county, it's Shelley.
Yep, I signed up for that because I was at the city. Same thing.
Yeah, it's a good training.
Great.
Thank you, Linda.
Yes, have a good day.
Knocked everything over. That back.
Actually, that's it.
I'll give it over.
Thank you. Okay, Nick, you got your weed commissioner report, and then a department update. You want to go through the weed commissioner report first?
Sure. Yeah, so the weed commissioner report, so Dave and I went through kind of what he had used through most of the year before he left. So we got all his numbers in there, and I did a little bit of spraying after he was gone, so those numbers are in there too. As for where the weeds and stuff are, we kind of decided we're just gonna leave it what he had found throughout the year, and I'll figure out next year where all the problem weeds and stuff are, and may or may not change the numbers he has on the front there for how they're being a problem or where they're at yet. He does have some of the the worst infestations on a map, so I know where to go after and treat those. So those are on the map anyway. So this was just kind of going through his numbers a little bit and adding a little bit of usage that I did after he was gone, and that's kind of what it is for this year. It was pretty simple with Dave here still, so, but that's what that is. I guess there anything else you want to know about it?
We worked with Wartburg
Okay.
a couple of years ago. Did he talk to you about that?
A little bit. They did like an inventory
Right.
of the
Is
roadside.
that- did
Yes.
that get passed along to you, or do you?
It's in the computer. He's got that all on the GIS maps, which is kind of nice. I've yet to kind of go through it all and see where stuff is, but it does have on there where some of the good native stands are. That's kind of what they identified as what percentage of whatever road ditch was native or non-native, and they kind of broke it out from there what was there and what we needed to handle or do something
I
different there.
just
That's
want to
what.
make sure we didn't
Yeah.
lose sight of that
Nope.
with the change
Nope.
of.
There's a lot of information in there. I need to got all winter to kind of study it and go through it yet.
Okay,
But yeah,
perfect.
nope,
Just
it's
the
definitely
goal-
there. So
So the goal there was if they had a lot of native species, make sure you're aware of it so you don't spray that as hard, or be careful what chemicals you are.
So yeah, be careful. And some of these chemicals now, and I actually just met with a herbicide rep this morning. There's a new one that had just now available in Iowa, and some of the natives are resistant to it, so it doesn't hurt them as bad. So you can use them in these stands that we have. So it's a lot safer for the natives per se. It might ding some of the broadleaf natives, but for the grasses and some of the sedges and stuff, it's not gonna hurt them as bad.
Okay.
So we can use it in there and just, for spot spraying, it's not gonna knock everything back, but having a good idea where the natives are for the whole overall management plan was probably a good idea. Hey, this whole mile is a good section of natives. We're gonna maintain this a little different than one that's just all brome grass or whatnot. So, yep. So yeah, so no, all that information's in there. I just have yet to study through it, so.
And then my question was, how many times since 2025 was the necessary serve and not just weed notice? And you have 0, which is fine. Is it, and I haven't, since I'm new too, like you, I mean.
Right.
You get a lot of noxious weed complaints?
So not usually. most of the complaints are ragweed, and unfortunately, that's not a noxious weed, so really
Okay.
not much. We can handle it and spray it, but I can't take care of every complaint, because if every ragweed call to come in, you'd run out of chemicals by July. So, Dave was telling me, we do try and, if it's a visibility issue or around a driveway or something, we'll go in and spray them or mow them or knock them down for them, but, ragweed's kind of one of those that is the most common, but for noxious weeds, it doesn't seem like it's too big of an issue. I don't know if it's an education thing that people don't know about them on, or if they don't care. But I did actually deal with one a couple weeks ago, or not last week actually. It was in town. There were two infestations of teasel right as you come into town on Horton Road. One was in the city right away. One was kind of city private landowner. So I did talk to the city. They took care of the one in there right away. And I talked with the landowner, and he said, yeah, I'll take care of it. I'll mow it. And I looked at it the other day, and he's already got them cut back and knocked down. And spraying them now is not going to do much good, but in the springtime, he said he was going to handle it. So and that was more of, he called and said, hey, how do I handle this? And kind of gave him suggestions on what to do. So we're going to work with him on that. But
So that's not really a weed notice. That's just like a warning, or I don't know how you per se.
yeah, so I think the only thing that Dave said, he had just briefly talked to the guy, nothing super official about it, was there was a sheep farmer over by Sumner somewhere, and his field was full of thistles. He told the guy, you need to take care of him, mow him, do something with him, and he mowed him off, and that was that. So it was just kind of a verbal thing. I don't think anything officially was done with it.
Okay.
So I don't really see that, why we kind of went with 0 on the report, because there was nothing official done with it.
Yeah.
I think if it comes down to it, if we got to do something official, we'd have to come to you guys and go through that whole process, and if we needed to really take care of something. So, but
Well, I think you can send out notification letters without coming through us.
okay,
And maybe that's something that you want to note going forward, that could fall under a notice, so it looks like
okay,
you're actually
sure, yeah,
doing
no,
what
absolutely,
you're
yep,
doing. 'Cause I think David did send out, in fact, I thought he reported that the last time he talked to us, that he had to send out a couple of
okay.
notices.
Yeah, he said he's done it in the past, but I
can remember one.
one, yeah, it wasn't very common that he had to deal with it, so.
Thistles seem to be the
Yep.
biggest thing that I hear about.
Right, Yep.
So,
yep.
and
So-
see,
Okay. So yeah, going forward, they'll be from here on out keeping track of everything and what we do. So, but
Yeah.
going from what he had done, kind of trying to mix things together for this report. So,
okay,
Yeah, and I'm fine with notices, and then if they don't respond, then you might, serve them a true, hey, if you don't get this done, we'll clean it up and charge you,
Right.
et cetera, so.
yep. And that's the whole point of it, is like, education is the main thing. Like,
Yeah.
let's work together before we have to get to that point, because we
Yes.
don't want to make anybody mad. So
Yep.
that's not the good thing. So, nope. So,
And I see that you just put 2 months here that you're employed, so that the state knows that we had someone for 2025, but you're.
yes, so the last meeting, you guys, we'd updated that from when Dave left to me, so we kind of I just put it through the end of the year, from when I started through the end of the year was the 2 months, so they still see we still had somebody here for those 2 months, so, yep. So,
Otherwise, things going going well as your new recruit here.
yeah, they're going good. We're getting the hang of things, getting settled in finally. The office is all done and complete now, so the disaster in there is all painted and floors fixed, and so that's kind of nice. So the offices are all put together and stuff is kind of where I organized it and wanted it now. Still trying to figure out where to put everything, but yeah, it's going good. So
And you got your certificates.
Yep. So those are, I got all the applicator's license are done. Those are done. Almost aced the last one. I only missed one question on the last one. I was surprised at myself on that one. So that was really good. But yeah, I got the category 6 and the 1A. Those are all done and updated. Landon just renewed our license for the county for next year. So that's all ready to go. Yeah, I went to, the Road Tide Conference was the beginning of this month, right after Dave left. That was down in Davenport. That was real good. I got to network with all the other managers in the state, and the coordinator down at UNI for the Tallgrass Prairie Center. So that was good to meet all those people and network and bounce ideas off, and that was super good. And I've been talking with Blackhawk County quite a bit. They have that spray system that we have the grant for. I went down and looked at that, so I kind of knew what I was going to buy. That's real handy. That's going to be nice to have for our tracking and keeping tabs on all that instead of doing it all on map and paper. It's going to be a lot easier to upload it to the computer, and it'll be more accurate. And then if there is ever a complaint from somebody, we can go back and be like, no, I was right here on this day, we weren't there, whatever. And it's going to record all our wind speeds and everything and time, so that'll be super handy to have. We'll get that put in early spring here before we start spraying. We've finished up the brush spraying up in the northeast part of the counties where Dave left off, so we finished that up. That went well. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary that we needed to handle right away. We mentioned we dealt with that concern from that city in the Waverly, so we'll keep tabs on that, make sure those don't come back. Teasel was the species, and that's one of those, if you don't take care of it before it flowers and goes to seed, it's going to drop. Each seed has got about 2,000 seeds it's going to drop, and it's a biennial, so it's going to keep coming back. So we'll keep an eye on that, work with the city and the landowner and make sure they keep tabs on that. Otherwise, if you let it go, it can be a pretty bad infestation and take over everything. So we'll just work with them on that, and they seem pretty willing to help deal with it. So, yeah, so I got the applicator's license done. Continuing ed credits are done already for the spray, because you got to do that in the same year you have your license. And even though I just got the license, I had to do that already for one category. And then later this winter, there's another weed commissioners conference. We'll redo all those again for 26. So those will all be continuing ed credits there, and keep those up to date. So.
At your weed commissioners conference, do they talk about the potential of spray impact on waterways and its potential connection to rural cancer rates?
So I don't know what the topics are going to be this year. They haven't released the speakers yet. I think that's in February sometime. So I'll certainly find out and know. I imagine that's probably going to be a hot topic, I would bet. They do have, I know during that conference, they do have a new weed commissioners meeting the night before. So that'll be good to attend there to kind of get up to speed on what exactly the commissioners entail. But then, yeah, I'll take good notes and see what comes up with any questions they have there for that stuff. I would imagine it'd be a topic, or at least be talked about amongst all the other ones, I'm sure.
So that's all in your certification, that you can't be spraying close to a water source and
Right.
et cetera.
Yeah. None of the stuff we use is labeled for water. That's a whole nother license you have to have, and different herbicides are labeled for water use, and that's more the DNR kind of, if they're managing the invasive stuff that is in the marsh or in the rivers, that's more on their field of it. And if there's some stuff we can spray up to the water's edge. Obviously we have to try and keep it out of the water the best we can. We don't want any of that stuff to go directly into the waterway. So yeah, none of the stuff we currently have is labeled for use in the water, directly water, excuse me. So, yep.
Is there a motion to have me sign the weed commissioner report?
I'd move to accept and authorize the board chair to sign the 2025 weed commissioner report.
Yes.
Moved by Corey, second by Bob to sign the commissioner report. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Is there an original?
I don't know, did you have an original? Please sign
That was just, he can sign that one's fine. It was all a PDF, so not a huge deal. We'll just copy that and send it off to the state, so.
So right now, looking forward, really no changes from kind of David's way of doing things, except you're gonna have automatic weed thing, the logging. Any other changes you're contemplating?
Yeah, so there's a few. I met with the herbicide rep this morning actually, and we're gonna kind of come up with now that we have the new spray system going in, we're gonna kind of simplify down our mixture a little bit. Instead of having 4 or 5 different herbicides and adjuvants and stuff, we can simplify it down to 3 or 4. So it'll be a lot easier to keep inventory and maintain. Again, easier to use kind of stuff. Less touching of the actual chemicals. We don't have to mix them. Some we're still going to have to mix by hand, but most of the ones we use all the time are going to be injectable. So we just hook them up to the little 15-gallon kegs. hit our amount and it injects it automatically, so we don't have to touch the stuff. So that'll be good for a safety standpoint of it. So we're gonna work on kind of coming up with a mixture for spring, use what is remaining from David's orders and inventory, get that used up, and then going forward, we're just gonna kind of simplify stuff down. So that'll be handy. Yeah, and talking with some of the other managers at the conference, there's some ideas I've got in my head, but I haven't anything really time to sit and think about maybe what I want to do yet and get a good handle on things. The first year we'll kind of keep it simple and then see what goes from there and build off of it. But they definitely had some good ideas. So I've got plenty of notes. I got 2 or 3 pages of notes I took from some of the slideshows and stuff. So it'll be lots of stuff to think about this winter and kind of pre-plan and see what goes forward. So.
And to help me out, the new sprayer, will you be able to like have 3 types of chemicals on there and just pick which one is necessary for this spot, or is it only load 1?
So it's only a 1 so in that keg we can mix up to I think 4 or 5. You can, well, maybe more than that. You can make whatever's compatible. So you're going to have your broad spectrum of what you can control. So,
Okay.
but there's a mix for brush and some of the later season stuff, and then there's a different mix for the early spring to kind of get the weeds knocked down before they can really take off. So we'll work on that, and so it'll be. That's the nice thing about it is it's all mixed, pre-mixed into the keg, so you can just hook it up and go, and you don't have to mix and mix and mix, and it simplifies it down, makes it easier and safer to use, and you use actually less of it that way. So
It does allow small batch mixtures then, so
Yes.
you don't
Yep.
have to mix up a day's worth.
Nope. So it has I think 300 gallon nurse tank, which is just water, and then a 200 gallon of the mixed tank, and so then we can add our water into that 200 first, add our chemicals into that, and then when we're out spraying, when we're done with the mix, we can load another however much we want, and then just calculate how much herbicide we need to add that way. And then we can always load from the top too. If we're going to do guardrails or bare ground, we can adjust. That stuff won't be in the keg. That'll still be hand mixed because it's only 1 or 2 loads of that we use throughout the year. So that'll be really the only time we have to mix things by hand. Is
Do we
eventually.
physically have the sprayer ready, or is it still on order?
So the sprayer is here. So what the grant is covering is the spray sync system, which is the automated tracking.
And that's what's on order.
That'll be on order here. Yeah. So it comes with a year subscription to the service. That is a calendar year, so there's no point in ordering it now in almost November. So we'll wait, order it in April, get that installed before we start, and then we'll have it all the way through December
Perfect.
to use. And then the grant covered another year of that service, so we'll have that service for 2 years before we really have to budget for it. So, yep. So that'll be coming soon, but it'll be handy to have for sure. Yeah.
It sounds like you're really on top of it. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome to hear that you're taking it to heart, and
Yeah.
you are.
Yep,
And
for
that's
sure.
Great to hear that.
Absolutely. So yeah, I did bring back some calendars from the conference for you guys. I can leave that here if you want some 2026 calendars. So it's kind of some neat stuff in there. And talking with Christy, the manager down there at UNI, we're gonna try and get some pictures of maybe Bremer County in one this next year's calendar. So there's some good stands out there we can get some good photos of. And
Had
Put
some
some-
pictures by Kip a couple of years ago, and
yep, Kip's got some good ones. So but we've got some good stands out there that now Dave's been here 10 years, so they've kind of really established. And we'll get some pictures and get some stuff maybe put in the calendar for next year to show it off. So.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's kind of really all I got. So,
all right.
all right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
There you go. Lindsay, your one up is Thomas and Karen Place down there by Janesville.
Minor plat, they are just adding some land to their existing parcel, approximately 3 acres. I would assume it's for recreational ground. There's a handful of blinds along that stretch of road and with the water creeping right there.
No issues, no concerns?
No issues, no floodplain, no concerns.
Move approval of the resolution for minor plat for Thomas Place and Karen Place.
Second motion.
Moved by Bob, second by Corey to approve and authorize the chair to sign. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next one up is Art Naiman.
Yes, this is just your typical splitting off the farmstead. They do provide for an easement for the north field access. It does look like there's a drive south of the timber to get to the south field. Um, Septic's updated, no concerns, no floodplain.
Good. Just doing it for tax purposes.
Yep, correct.
To approve the resolution for minor plat for Art Maiman.
Second.
Corey moved, Bob seconded to approve Mayman. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries unanimously.
And you had a good comp plan?
Yep, our second meeting was, it went well, I thought. I thought both of them are going well. Our last one is November 5th, next Wednesday. And that one we'll discuss housing and land use. That'll be a big one. But we're kind of limited on time because Conservation Board comes in at 7, so hopefully we can be productive.
Okay. And a good attendance, the email things all got.
Good attendance. We've received some feedback from the survey. Some things that stand out are water quality for concerns, and cost of affordable housing is another concern at the top of the citizens list. So.
Dewey spent the last half hour talking about water quality, so.
I'll have to watch the recording then.
That's a pretty high request for expanding the trail system.
Yep,
Was
that was really nice to see that people are interested in the recreation and building on that, investing in Bremer County.
It does bring people to your area. It really does. Anything else for us?
That's all I got.
Okay. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
And then you're gonna have to put on the
I'll
brake.
put on the brakes.
Few minutes.
Okay.
And one of the things that's got we fix it what we
Mm-hmm.
and then we have to ensure it's separately or
Oh.
it's. And so my question back to them is even, you know, how about our fences, how about.
Right.
How about that? And Lori was telling me.
Hi, Dewey, how are you?
I'm like, I thought that was
Hey,
part of the building.
right.
Did you just listen?
Down at General
The city,
Assistance
the one
VA,
I think it might be.
apparently the phone system isn't
Yeah.
always transferring or say they're not transferring or something. Is that a city Wiggly issue? Is that a house?
Yeah, we've got a lot of that
issue?
stuff.
Just to double check that we're
Have any
ensuring
thoughts
what
on
we
that?
need to, or at the right level.
Down here.
Yes.
You said 130?
One,
I think they're, if this instance, they were just transferring from general assistance to VA, and then
if we learn from Tony,
I don't know
things
what-
that can be done differently.
it
You know,
wasn't
often
apparently
probably
checked on or
yeah.
something. And so
I have not
it
gotten,
might be a
speaking
bigger
to Tony,
discussion that we got.
I have not gotten a
People are going to use
quote
it,
back
those
on
kinds of
this, so.
systems. Would they get the same message that we get? Like, if I get a voicemail, it dings up in my private, personal email system and tells me I have a voicemail. Do they have that capability, or? I think what we need to do then, Nate, is we need to take kind of an inventory of those folks that use a voicemail system and make that kind of an automatic that has to happen in every one of those departments. Because we can't be having people not get any kind of response for days on end. That's just not acceptable. So, you know, like public health probably wouldn't, and I would I would bet Lindley's already using something like that. But, you know, any place that does voicemail, I think we should probably, and we'll put some thought to that too, down here and kind of give you some direction as well. Either email or goes to their, if, I don't know what, if we can, we probably can't force it to have them accept it in their, right, or even their personal phones, but, you know, there's gotta be a way for us to be able to notify, or people to be notified that, yes, we at least received your call, and we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. It's just unacceptable to have it be days on end, so that's not happening, so. All right, thank you, sir. Have a good day, bye. So if you can think of any place else that probably needs to be looked to a little bit about responses, or, I don't know who all uses that type of a voicemail to.
I think every department.
There you go. Now you're gonna have to get a county attorney opinion on whether or not we can force it. Stop it. Put that on our agenda for next week so we can discuss that. I think
You want Nate there and who else?
at this point, just Nate. I think we gotta figure out.
Determine what the capabilities of our system are before we.
I do like when it emails you the voice stuff, so.
Yeah, so do I. I really like mine because it pops up.
Mm.
Yeah, we'll return something.
Is that bad? I don't get into your email.
You overly tired today or
I keep
not?
telling you to use my.
Not too bad. Do I look
So you
at?
didn't stay up
I
much,
had-
Dr.
I couldn't get Windows to
no.
load this morning. I had to.
You heard about it, right?
Yeah.
Lets me get there, and then it says it's gonna email me a password, but then it won't let me open the password because that pop-up box is open. Then I close that, I get the password, and I can't put it into anything, so.
So then just reach up and push that button on the thing. And then it'll put it directly. to
She's
the
talking
password.
just in Outlook though, right?
Yeah. it's
Just in
Outlook.
Outlook.
It's trying to make me log into Microsoft, or I can't get any of my emails.
I'd reach out to Nate, make sure not
Yeah.
getting,
I'd email
Somebody
them, but I
trying-
can't.
somebody's trying to hack your password.
That's just kind of fun.
Send him a voicemail. He might not respond.
He's pretty good about it.
Yes, he is.
Just go right here off his wrist.
Nate has responded to me on a Sunday afternoon before. So.
Yeah.
He's responded to me a lot of times on off hour times. So was Landon. So was the sheriff.
No fires this week at home from your Bronkhorst-inspired pyro?
Not yet. We haven't let him get a hold of the steel walls.
Landon, you're gonna be up in like 30 seconds, but I think my final payout authorization sheet got attached to one of my other documents that I sent along.
I've got a copy.
So, okay, perfect. Okay, it's 10 o'clock, Landon, go ahead.
Okay, is that the first thing on the
Yes.
final pay? Yeah. First thing on is the final pay estimate for PCI for the bridge on 150th up there. That is now open, by the way. This was the, excuse me, bid for providing and setting the Odin panels on that bridge. Bid amount was $243,615, and the total is $243,615. Recommend approval.
Any hiccups with that job?
Went really well. We, the only thing that the bridge crew is twisting my arm about is on our new loading standards, with all the heavier vehicles. We used to, when we had these jobs, they would set the panels and they had to weld like a 1 foot section on each side of the abutments. With the new loading standards, they have to weld full width. So they did about 1,500 feet of welding after these panels got set. So the bridge crew has asked if there's any way we could go to lighter loading, but unfortunately with the, with the traffic we're seeing now, that probably wouldn't be feasible. So they're going to get very good at welding over the coming years.
And how many feet did you say?
1,500.
That's on one bridge?
Yeah, because it's between each panel, there's a gap with a rod that goes into it, and they have to weld down both sides of the rod. So the total welding by the time they did all those welds was about 1,500 feet. So it was, we rented a welder, so we had 3 going at once. Took them about a week.
Wire or stick?
Stick. Wire would probably be easier for them, but we had the
You could play the
capabilities
wind,
for
though.
stick. But yeah. And they got to jump around. They can't just start and go because they don't want it heating up too much under the concrete. So they got to do a section and move. Yeah.
So is there a better design or something like that out there, or?
Well, we're going to try one next year that won't have a concrete deck. It'll have the I-beam deck. It'll have concrete in it, but it'll have I-beams as the major load carrying capacity. And so that'll have significantly less welding. We'll see how that goes. We had the bid for that here this fall for just the materials. So we'll see how that one goes. That might be an option going forward too, if that one goes off well.
This is that design with the arches.
Yeah,
Between
yep, yep,
the carrying beams.
yep.
So were those our guys welding or the bridge crew?
The bridge crew. Our bridge crew.
Our bridge
Our
crew.
bridge crew, yep.
3 guys, a week solid.
Mm-hmm.
Does that get included in the cost of that project?
Not on this number, but it'll be reflected on our final day labor report on it. So that will be something, when we did these 2 last year, with this new design we're doing with steel back walls and the steel I-beams and then the concrete decks, we were running about, I think it was 30 to 35% higher in cost for a bridge with an expected 40 to 50% longer life, so it made sense. But as we add in some of those things, that's going to cut into we'll have to repencil that out with the new loading standards on them, if that's going to continue to make sense or if we need to look at something else.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve board chair to sign the final pay estimate for project LL 127-7309.
Second.
Moved by Corey, second by Bob for final payout, signature. Any further discussion?
Has the bridge received Norman's approval?
He's been across it on the 4-wheeler.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Yeah, anywhere there. This new system they have doesn't have a place for signatures on the final voucher. Thank you.
Okay,
Next one, we've got our ICAP review of our equipment we talked about last week. I did get this in front of ICAP, kind of what we came up with. Andy and I kind of discussed this for a while after our meeting last week. And there could be more cuts in here, but what right away made sense is we took all of our motor graders that are 10 years and older and said, let's just insure them for the amount that we had currently, before this new one. That runs anywhere, the replacement value or the stated value we would give them is anywhere from $205,000 to $298,000. Doing that, obviously we don't want to get in a situation where we have a greater total, but if we do, we would just simply put that, we always carry a spare, so we would put the spare into rotation and then we would put that on the next fiscal year to replace. That would cover about half the cost of a new one. So we would just be upgrading one of those older ones with a newer one at about half cost. So doing that would save, I haven't got the estimate, but if the rates are roughly similar to what's on this compared to last year, that would save us about $9,200 a year in premium, which is almost half of what that increase was going to be. The graders make a lot of sense because, they're parked inside. They are relatively unlikely to be totaled. There could be an accident on the road that would do something, but you're not likely to have multiple at once. It's most likely going to be a single accident, then we can just look at replacing, and we've got a spare on hand. The other thing we're going to do, we've typically carried 2 spares on hand. The last 2 years, I think our one spare's got like 50 hours on it or less. So we're going to move down to 1. We'll get rid of one of these and eliminate that insurance line on them altogether. At times we do use them like for winter snow plowing, but usually it's one of them. We very rarely are running a full 12 that we have. So that's another thing we're looking at here to reduce some of this. With the other machines, honestly, kind of for the reasons I talked, we could look at that on all of our graders. But the newer ones, you're farther away from replacement cost. And you're replacing a brand new machine, or a much newer machine, I should say. The other ones that are used on construction jobs, it seems like there's a little more risk there with the excavators and the D5 blade and all that stuff. So we thought it might make sense to keep those at full value. And especially some of those, like our big excavator, our D5, if we don't replace those right away, we're at a standstill until we get a new one budgeted and approved and bought. So getting those turned around faster might make sense to keep that full replacement.
If they're critical, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have not gotten the actual quote back, but I think it'll be roughly in that range of what that'll save us on that. Original premium was estimated to increase by $22,000 a year, so we would save about $9,000 of that going with this approach.
Sounds like you're heading in the right direction. And you need to, assess what vehicles or what equipment you really need to have duplicate of.
Yep.
is that what you're recommending, or is that?
That is my recommendation, but I'm certainly open to discussion if there are other ideas.
I wish I had a better idea, but
Yeah.
I just get somewhat nervous because, while saving $9,000
Right.
is a great investment, and budget
Backfire
process.
if we run
one
into
does happen to get totaled,
Right.
all of a sudden that looks like it was just pocket change.
Right.
Because these machines are so expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, cost of a new grader now is up above $400,000.
What in the last, you've been here about 5 years?
6.5.
6.5, time flies.
Yeah,
How many have we had replaced by insurance in that
None.
6 years?
yep, none.
So from that perspective, that 9,000 sounds like a pretty good
Right.
bet.
To my knowledge, as long as Andy, right, I don't think this is wood. Yeah. To my knowledge, as long as Andy's been here, I think he said have not had one replaced under insurance either, which has been, what, 10 or 12 years, something like that, 10 years maybe. I don't know
I
when the
think you've
last
done
one was, but
Good job of looking like operational contingencies.
yeah.
I'm comfortable with your plan.
Would we, is there an option to go with a higher deductible for the newer machines then as well, that we could save additionally?
I will have to ask about that.
That's a good approach.
Pardon me?
That's a good approach. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
that would
small
reduce
amount
that,
of
so.
balance.
Right,
Yep, I'll ask about that as well.
okay.
Yeah, and we won't take any action until I get a quote, obviously, but
Well, I think you've been given some pretty clear direction.
yeah, yep.
You know, we won't take action, but you know what, we're kind of hoping for there, so.
Yep. Let's see, other than that, today, the only thing, I do have a job shadow coming in this afternoon from Janesville, so we'll be traveling and looking at some projects. Yeah, it's too bad that school's not in session during the summer. We could have a little more of a seeing some project work, but we'll go check some things out. So that's the only other thing I had to note today.
Something we could look at, maybe a STEM project.
Yeah. Yeah, if there were kids that'd be interested in that, I feel like that'd be a lot more valuable, getting them in while we got projects going on and things they can see.
Okay, any other questions for Landon? All right, hopefully we can get a final decision on this insurance thing by next week, so.
Do you, just direction, correct? Because I need to turn this in by
Right.
Friday.
All right.
So you should.
I've
because
got, yep,
And actually tomorrow, Tony, myself, and Scott, and I've asked Landon to sit and meet tomorrow, discuss contents of buildings and carve out for property, things that they're wanting individually on the insurance, not covered as part of the building, so.
Well, I think your direction.
I've got my direction, yep,
It's
yep.
pretty
We'll
clear
make the
here,
decision
so.
based on that.
Okay.
That'll be an interesting one. We gotta cover every fence and air handler, heater.
I did see in the forecast that in north central eastern Wisconsin, Minnesota and western north Wisconsin, they had some purple and some white
really?
showing. So
Oh,
do
boy.
we have most of our stuff ready to go in case?
We're pretty well ready. We've got a few more sanders to get on, but they're ready to
There's
go.
no way
Just
that's
have a
gonna
little
dip
more.
down to us. to the
Right.
Front, but
Yep.
we're probably only potentially a couple weeks away.
Roger, have a safety plan for the sander?
Yep, yep. Yeah, Andy and he were working on how to retrofit those old ones.
That's good.
Yep.
Thank you, Landon.
Thank you.
Mark?
You're all joined by phone?
What's that?
They're gonna join by phone?
Yeah, Patrick's the only one who can join. Eric is traveling.
And then Cassandra, I sent you an email, you know, one of them had a wrong name on,
Yep,
okay. Had a
I think I
different-
had no name,
No owner,
no.
yeah, but it had,
No owner, no responsibility. Why can't we point that out?
well, it was Camping Awanas, and that's a different organization.
Has been paid by conservation all along, but yeah.
Hey, Patrick, this is Scott. In the boardroom with the board. We're just getting ready to review this certificate of completion here.
Sounds good.
Do you have any, comments, Patrick?
I don't. I did list a couple of the items from when that letter was created. The additional parking stalls, they were just wrapping that up, so I did have that on there. Obviously, that is all poured out and backfilled, and then the generator startup, which is scheduled for Thursday.
Can we discuss that space there with those additional parking stalls and what we might have created there? I don't think it's gonna substantially change the decision here today, but for clarity for Corey and Bob especially, Scott and I discussed briefly out there, several years ago, we were having a lot of groundwater run down across our driveways, and we had to put some curb in along the sidewalk that exit the building up there. And it looks like we've created the same potential for coming off of that new parking area there just to the east of the driveway. Is there money somewhere in the budget that could incorporate some curbing, or will phase two take care of that completely?
So, real quick, I was out there yesterday with Scott, and we were looking at things over there. And yes, phase two was going to be taking care of that area. What I have drawn up and discussed with Scott yesterday is actually making a little bit of a wider driveway at that part and build and incorporate kind of a 1 foot, 1.5 2 foot wall that would allow also for the dumpster to sit behind the shed there, not the shed, but the garage. So that would be out of the way. And with that, that would actually eliminate the overall trash enclosure from bid package 2 and those gates as well. I just this morning marked up a plan and everything and sent that off to Baker to get a quote from that. And yes, we still have dollars available in this bid package that we can use for that.
So Scott, what do we do this winter? Because you and I both know that that's gonna cause us grief this winter.
I believe he's talked to Baker to see if they can still do it yet this fall.
Awesome.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, correct.
Okay, perfect. You guys know what we're talking about out there.
How, Patrick, the widening of the driveway there now, to do that, would we be able to get a full vehicle to the side of the garage door? Be wide enough for that?
We marked out 8 foot yesterday, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, it was about 8 foot wide, and then from the garage, it would sit back, if I recall correctly, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like about 6 feet in order to fit that dumpster back there. And then we were coming out pretty much to line up right before the curve of the driveway where it starts to turn to make the first parking stall there, straight out, and then angling it back to the sidewalk from there.
Okay, sounds like a proper plan, so appreciate that.
Yeah, and there's stakes out there if they have not fallen over that we kind of use for some reference points as well.
Okay. Scott, do you have any questions, concerns relative to substantial completion?
No, I asked Eric to, if he had anything. He just wanted to add that by signing this, we're starting this is when all the warranty dates start then, and then ISG will do next August an 11-month walkthrough to make sure there's no items that need attention within the 1 year period. So, but yeah, So, no, we're doing the generator, like Patrick said, Thursday, and then I think they just gotta, once the concrete's hardened enough, then they're gonna stripe the lot, and we'll be good to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, we can sign this today and we'd still be able to use the bid package one contingencies for that additional concrete work,
Yeah.
not an issue.
Yep. Yep. Correct.
So are we supposed to be utilizing the electronic signature version? I see I've gotten 2 or 3 of them from some.
It doesn't matter. You can sign that, and we can scan that in and use that form. So, whichever one you would prefer.
If we have a hard copy, we'll just do the hard copy and I'll just hit delete on the electronic one. That is, if we can get a motion from one of my colleagues to approve signing it.
I'd move to approve board chair signature to certify substantial completion of phase 1 courthouse
Second.
remodel.
Moved by Corey, second by Bob to authorize the chair to sign. Substantial completion of phase 1. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Okay, go into a conversation about phase 2 plans to be put out for bid. What's that?
This was supposed to be on the agenda last week.
Right.
I wasn't aware of it. It just needs the formal.
This is follow-up to our meeting we
Yep.
held down at the Civic Center where we had consensus, but we didn't take any formal action.
Yep.
So, does Patrick have any comments on that, or if not, we can probably drop him off.
Did you hear that, Patrick?
I did not.
Do you have any comments on phase 2 plans from the meeting on Wednesday a couple weeks ago?
I don't have any. I know ISG and Eric and team are working on the update. I'm not seeing any updates to this point yet, but that's where we stand with that. And Tom still has that milestone schedule for the bidding, which I can send that out as well for just an update.
I would move to authorize phase 2 plans to be put out to bid.
Second.
Any questions?
Do we have a new estimate, or are they still working on?
They're
the
still
estimate?
working on that, yeah.
Any other conversation or questions? All in favor of authorized phase 2 plans to be put out to bid, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you,
All
Scott.
right, thanks, Patrick.
All right, thank you guys.
Scott, you shared that timeline when you pass it.
Yep.
I want to get all the bond council again to
Okay.
let them know what we're thinking.
How much more money we need?
Ha, we wasn't going there,
Oh, good.
not a penny over.
Anything else?
Nothing.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.